And we are back. You are chatting with John P. Today, we are going to be talking about what is going on with Rolex prices from the perspective of myself here at DelrayWatch.com. But first, before we jump into that, I'd like to urge you to like and subscribe. It does help. Leave in the comments below things you'd like to see in the future. By the way, someone did request this video. And don't forget to check me out on Instagram, TheRealJohnP. The wristwatch check. I'm wearing my Rolex Explorer 2 16550, the tritium, absolutely gorgeous, aged lume on this. These have really seen appreciation in the last year, I would say. It's crazy what's happened to these older Explorer 2s. So let's jump into it. Rolex prices, right? The general consensus out there on the forums and collectors in the YouTube community and the Facebook watch group community, because I do check these places, is that Rolex prices are going nuts, they're going crazy, the sky is the limit. And it kind of looks like that, right? And even from our perspective here as a dealer at DelrayWatch.com, I can say that even for us to be able to buy certain pieces and to stock them for you, it has become a little bit more difficult over time. Though in the last month, the last 30 to 40 days, I've noticed some very, very interesting things in our data that either indicate a pullback in the Rolex prices, so maybe a temporary pullback in where the Rolex prices are going down, because that's what I'm seeing, or perhaps a crash of something that is called the bubble, which, by the way, I did a video, and I don't necessarily think that we can call it a bubble, but let me explain where I'm coming from on this. And by the way, my business partner Federico here at Delray Watch, Federico Talks Watches, he did a video on this talking about kind of a similar topic where, he provided some feedback that he's getting from a lot of the other dealers he works with, and he handles a lot of the sales, so he sees a little bit different end than I do. I'm getting this strictly from our data, and we do have a proprietary system here that we've built that helps us track these things. So here's something interesting about our sales here at Delray Watch. Our sales in the last few months have not gone down, and we can rule that out. So they have continued to rise, though our percentage of Rolex sales to other brands have actually gone down. And interestingly enough, Omega was always the number 2 brand of watch that we would typically sell, and we'd have a lot of great demand from the Omega brand, but it was always second. And it was always substantially less than Rolex by more than 20 or 30%. But last month, and even the month before, Omega jumped up to catch up with Rolex, and just last month, Omega passed Rolex in terms of sales. Now, there's a few other different things that we should note to kind of show where I'm coming from on this. So the sales have not gone down, obviously, so we can rule that out. There's just less requests for Rolex sports watches. We also, in the system we have that we use to trade, buy, sell, all of that, we also catalog watches that people are looking for. We'll take calls here and also emails and on our web forms, and people will say, hey, I'm looking for this Rolex, I'm looking for that Rolex. If you get it in, please give me a call. And that was working very well, but now we're still receiving these kind of demands or requests, but we're not receiving as many for Rolex. And that kind of got me thinking about this topic. Less people are asking us for Rolex, but they're still asking us for a lot more other brands. We're selling a lot more of the other brands. We're selling a lot more of the Omega, when Omega was the number 2 by far. And now Omega has passed, in our perspective, pre-owned secondary market over the Rolex. And the other thing that I need to share is that there are a lot of Rolex pieces in circulation that I feel have been dug up during this whole demand craze for these pre-owned sports watches, especially something like a pre-owned Pepsi or pre-owned Submariner. If you go on the watch forums, there are endless amounts of pre-owned Rolex Pepsi watches available. Some of the olders, the Transitionals, the Tritiums, in that range, the 16750s, the 16750s, the 167 XX series, they're all over the forums, and they're no longer at prices that they used to be. They've come down a few $1,000s, and they're readily available on the forums. And when you pair that with our perspective that I can share with you, which Federico may have touched in his video, is that there are many dealers out there, most of them they don't even have websites. They have kiosks and jewelry exchanges and different pre-owned shops across the country. They're also sitting on a bit of Rolex sports inventory before. And when one of these dealers would post one of these watches for sale in some of the distribution channels that are available for pre-owned dealers, they would instantly go. For example, like a Rolex Pepsi, like a 167 XX series, it would be gone at a certain number right away. And now at that number, that watch is kind of sitting there when a dealer puts it available for distribution. So these are things that I'm noticing, and it can go one of two ways, right? So for sure, the data that we have points that the demand has gone down for these, either transitional period, even into the modern period, stainless steel sports Rolex watches. The demand has gone down, and we see the numbers coming down, even for watches that we put on our website through the distribution channels from other dealers, and other dealers are selling them for lower prices to other dealers to get out of them. Now, I can't say that it's tumbling down or crashing, because in the in the grand scheme of things, there really hasn't been too much movement. We're talking about a very small subset of the entire worldwide watch market, but this could be an indicator of something that is to come. So this, once again, this can go one of two ways. There could be a bit of a correction, because a lot of these watches have been found, right? People have been selling them. They've been sitting in the safe. They hear a news story or they watch a YouTube video. Oh, the prices are going through the roof. So they cash out, and now there's more that are circulating. Whereas before it was in the safe, it was an heirloom, it was in the back of a jewelry shop. There's that. More dealers are starting to sell online. So you have to consider, there's a lot of older gentlemen in this industry that have collected many, many watches in their inventory, and now they're starting to hire younger guys to go on places like YouTube, to go onto Chrono24, eBay, and start placing their inventory. And it's mostly because they would like to cash out of all of this inventory that is selling for all-time highs, essentially. The Rolexes, some of the Pateks, things like that. So you have that happening. Or the other track, aside from the pullback, is there could be a bit of a crash. I think it's too early to jump to that conclusion. But even with just talking with collectors that'll call us, or people on the forums or in the comments below, it seems like the guy that would buy the Rolex, getting into the Rolex, maybe not the largest collector of Rolex, but he wanted to have that watch in his collection, he's going for alternatives like Omega. And I'm noticing that aside from the data, I do feel through conversations that people feel like they've been mistreated by the Rolex brand. And I don't want to say that it's silly to say, but there's something to be said about the way that a brand treats their customers and the way that they feel when they thought they were getting a certain item, and now the item is being purchased by someone that only wants it because it's ultra coveted and not for the experience that the brand used to provide to their customers. So something interesting I wanted to share with you guys here. But for sure, I will be monitoring the scenario in the numbers. I'm a numbers guy, so I will be monitoring the numbers here, and I'm going to be sharing anything that we find. So you'll be the first to know if the pullback continues on the trend. I'll tell you. I don't have stock in Rolex that I have really no skin in the game as far as what happens with Rolex, right? Because we buy, sell, trade, and whatever the market price is, we pay it as well. So it affects us as well. So something to consider, guys. I will be here sharing with you anything that I do find on this. And if there's any other questions you have about the numbers and the brands, some of the brands that we think are really up and coming, I can say that... one other thing I wanted to mention, and I know I'm circling back to this, is I also did a video sometime back about Tudor going through a similar trend when all the Tudor it was for a different reason. Tudor was coming out with a lot of new models, and it caused... I did a video about it, but basically it caused the prices to come down, and you see that the Tudors were no longer selling at crazy premiums like they were, and I'm seeing a similar trend in terms of our sales numbers, and I was pretty correct in determining that there would be a pullback in Tudor. So if the same thing happens, we'll see it in Rolex, but you can hear more about the way that I was tracking that in the Tudor video. I'll put a link in the description below. But once again, if there's anything else that you want to know about the business of watches and kind of what watches we see that are up and coming, more demand, less demand. Some of you find it interesting because someone did request this video. So let me know in the comments below. Do not forget to like and subscribe. Instagram The Real John P. It's Monday. It's a rainy day here in Miami, so I've got nothing else to do besides make more videos, and that's what I'll do. Thanks for watching, guys. You have been chatting with John P. Ciao.